Good morning, everyone. Russell Wright, Network Empire, Theme Zoom, Epimemetics, LLC. How are you? It's so good to see everybody here on this Thursday morning for us, Phoenix time. And for whatever reason, this morning has been technically weird. I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's something in the gravitational influences. Matt's internet is down, and mine just got back up, which is great, so I could be here. So he should be on shortly. And if he's not, we'll cover, this is our kickoff webinar. This is a meet and greet, get to know each other. Normally it's Matt's screen who's being shared, because on my screen I usually have weird and bizarre brain neural mapping connective weird stuff. Is that, Sue, is that you?
It is.
Oh, well, you didn't respond to my Skype, so I thought you had gone permanently to coffee. I'm so glad that you're here. Sue, Sue Bell is not here, so I can switch my brain gears from feeling like I have to hold the show on my own to having the software master dominatrix herself here, as well as many, many other things in our company. Let me just get a 1 from each one of you so that I know that you can hear us. Gosh, I'm so glad you're here, Sue. I thought I was on my own. Let's see, which would have been fine. I can talk up a storm, but I think probably at some point they would want to get super technical. Let's see. Hi, Stan. It's good to see you. Let me just, can you please give me a 1 if you can hear me? Marina, I can see that you can hear me. Hello, David McWilliams. I'm glad that you finally got in this course. It's really, really great. Steve Patterson's here, Stan. And Vincent, it's good to see you. Certified advisor. You're auditing this course. I'm glad to see you back here. A lot has happened since last year's certification. Vincent is a official certified advisor for Network Empire and Theme Zoom. Okay, looks like we have everybody on that's going to be here. It's a getting to be a pretty full call. Oh, there's a few people wandering in. Some of you I have not met before. Michael, looks like I have you can hear us. Mihai, can you hear us? I want to make sure that you can. And Andy, I haven't got any confirmation from you. Andy, can you hear us? Okay, hi, Mihai. All right, Steve Patterson, we got. Okay, there you go, Andy. Just when he's like, yeah. Okay, good. This is a pretty intimate group, and we do get to know each other through the various courses. Today we're going to go over, let me get rid of this crazy brain stuff and go right into, and Sue, you can, of course, jump in at any point. Would you like to detour? This is our meet and greet. This is week 1. And we're going to tell you what we're going to tell you and what you can plan for.
You haven't actually showed your screen yet, Russ.
Yes, I have. So if anybody cannot see my screen, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen and a 2 if you cannot. I want to make sure that, okay, nobody else can see my screen either.
Yeah, it's still the splash screen.
Okay, I should be showing the screen.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, good. So we're going to go into, I'm going to show you right where it is. We're in part 1, swallowyourmarketwhole.com. Okay, but what you're going to do is you're going to go to your membership area. In case you guys don't know, most of you have already jumped in. On the members dash area, it's on the left sidebar. You're going to want to go to technical training. Is there any, give me a 1 if you've been able to find the location of this training, or 2 if you're still trying to figure out where it is, just so I don't, okay, everybody's been able to find it. Okay, it came in the email. Just wanted to make sure that if ever in doubt, you can go to members-area and click on technical training and technical foundation, and then you should be unlocked from the, if you have any problems or issues with that, please don't hesitate to contact me directly in the Skype group. And if you have not joined the Skype, let me give you a 1 if you're in the Skype room, and 2 if you have not been added to the Tech Foundation 1's Skype group. Vincent, I know you're in the Certified Advisor, which is a higher level Skype group as well. Okay, it looks like most of you who've been able to do that. Okay, great. So then you'll just click into the Technical Foundation training area. This is if you ever need to get to the course from a different route. Marina, I think you should, if not, contact me privately. Yeah, I think I dropped you in there, but you should have seen some chatting happening this morning. If you didn't have an annoying blip come up with that says level 1 technical training, then you're not in there. And it's only annoying to get in there because it's really awesome conversation. That's the Tech Foundation 1, and you probably are in the, Marina, just get with me. I'm going to make sure that you're, okay, yeah, Andy, all of you contact me personally on Skype at ThemeZoom and or in the Tech Foundation 1 training room, and I will drag you in there, okay, into the Tech Foundation 1. Oh, well, I mean, contact me personally at ThemeZoom or in the basic group, and then I'll drag you. I have to drag you into the Skype Tech Foundation 1. If you're not in there, then I have to drag you there. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right into the. You're all familiar with. We have a series of 8 weeks that we're going to be going through, and this first week is success through definition, and this is just to get you clear on the process, what we expect you to accomplish. If not this time around, then over the next, as you all know, this is a perpetual mastermind training. Once a member, always a member. We're constantly growing and adding amazing material. And on that note, in fact, let me do that first because that's what's important to me. Can everybody see down here at the bottom of the screen where it says Webinar Archive? Just want you to know that that is there. And there's, at this point, hundreds of hours worth of pretty amazing, hardcore training from our previous events, okay? And that's important because here it unfolds here. You can see that we have all 8 weeks. And I think we've had over 6 trainings, 8-week boot camps. And they're all there. Hi, Pat. It's good to see you. Pat's just arrived in the house. Excellent. And we have these 8 weeks webinar training. You can go back and see the unique. Each one is a bit unique. They have their own thumbprint because the group of people that were there are a little bit different, and the questions that come up. And so I love our webinar archives. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, there are things like e-nounts where you can speed through these if you want. And you don't have to listen to me on slow. You can fast forward through some of these and kind of look and see what there's some pretty amazing conversations that happen there. But my main focus would be on this training because it's live and very specific. So let me just, Sue, you might want to jump in at any point, but here's we're on week 1, so the success through definition. And we get a lot of questions about, since we do the done-for-you keyword research on here, at what point you'll be giving that to us and what the process is. We're going to go through all that. Okay, let me go ahead. All right, so as you can see on week 1, here's the training area. So we're just now beginning, and essentially this 8-week course, we're sending you through this maze of very, very powerful mechanisms that are designed to, let me see if I can increase the size of this thing. This will kind of help us until Matt gets here. Let's see, the first week, it's what the heck are you selling and defining your market. It's all about determining, and as we move into week 2, we get into finding the pain in the market. This is the week that I teach you some of the most advanced market research, keyword research combination mechanisms in the world. There's no question, hands down, that the process that we have in here is one of the most advanced in the world for integrating market research into the process of building your site. Now, it's a little bit misleading because we pitch this course out in internet land as SEO silo architecture, researching, developing, building your silo site. And a lot of people think that that's all that it is, this training course, and we're going to do much more in enhancing and exposing what's really going on here. The reality is that in order to build a true SEO silo architecture, one that converts and makes you tons of money, you really do have to do proper research. And for those of you who've been with us for years, you know that our defining distinction was teaching people the difference between market research and keyword research and showing them how to properly do both and how to bring them together. And really what you're going to get in this training over the next 8 weeks is a combination of literally 10 years of some of the greatest minds that I know putting both software, SEO, market research, and conversion or persuasion architecture. So it's not just SEO silo architecture that we have to be aware of. You have to also be aware of what we call persuasion, website persuasion architecture. We're going to be showing you how to bring that all together with simple steps, how the copy works with the keywords and the one-line zingers. And by the time you're done, you're going to have a complete system, which is pretty much a full business in a box, but more importantly, or perhaps more importantly to some of you, you're going to be able to apply this to clients' sites and to your own business sites, depending upon where you are. Let me just get to know you here. Give me a 1 if you are have an SEO agency and are working for clients to get them ranked, and a 2, if you're more in the business side, meaning you're doing it for your own business, you want to build your own sites using this method, and a 3, if you have an equal combination of both. It'll give Sue and I a little bit of an idea of what we're doing with the community here. Okay, Steve, Steve and Michael are pretty much full-on combo with both. Okay, and there's some of you that have clients that want to move into making your own money online. Okay, I understand that. And you have a brand new SEO agency. I'll just keep you anonymous there. I don't know if you want to share that publicly. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. So we have a really eclectic combination of people in this group, Sue. It's really a good one. Okay, so defining. So what am I doing here now again, Sue? Should I go through this chapter and show everyone here?
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing that we found over the years when people struggle to find the right keywords, it's because they haven't actually clearly defined what it is that they're selling, who it is they're selling to, and where their potential client is in the buying cycle and in their life cycle in general. And so what this week is designed to do is to set that foundation, help you get clear in your own mind where it is that you are, where it is that your customer is, and that's going to help you figure out how you want to communicate to them. When you understand how it is that you want to communicate to them, then finding the pains in the marketplace and finding the keywords is really pretty simple.
Yes, and I really love what Matt and Sue have done here. This is defining, I think Sue is pretty much adamant that we give time on, give you guys an idea of what kind of time you're going to be putting in. So, for example, we suspect that getting clear on what the heck you're selling is going to take around 4 hours or so. It can take less depending upon how clear you are. One of the biggest things is that you guys would be amazed how many people that we have mentored through the years that forget the keyword research, forget the market research. They don't even necessarily yet have a product to sell. Okay, so they're more in the business opportunity seeking mode in the beginning phases. And we never really aligned our software or our systems as a business opportunity. This is more for people that already have products and services in mind. However, through the years, as we got to know more and more people, even people who are running successful businesses, we realized that even those who do have products and services to sell weren't really clear on what that meant for them. In other words, they would build this entire SEO silo architecture website, and it would mention their products like twice. and that's actually fairly normal, because getting clear on what it is that you're selling is part of the research process. And then defining the market, who are we selling to? And we have a process that takes about an hour, segmenting your market, discovering your market the cycle of your buyer, like what is it that they're doing? What are they searching for first? We noticed that it's pretty common to have your sites targeting not necessarily the correct keywords for what we call buyer keywords, and we help you identify those. And again, this is all part of the process where you provide us with your core theme. But one of the reasons we've got to define your product and your market before you give us your theme, before Matt does a big giant automatic drill down into the system, is we've got to make sure that we have your top level themes properly, which is really based on what you're selling. Okay, identify the market personalities. This is the part where we're talking more about, what does somebody who purchased your product actually look like? One of the things I learned from Jonathan Mizell is that, when he's doing a big campaign or building a site or any of these types of things, he'll actually take a picture or a photograph and put that on the wall. His primary person, like he'll literally, he and his staff or team actually put a picture on the wall of the character profile of the buyer, like what does their life look like, what do they care about, how many kids do they have, is it a woman, she's between 35 and 40, right? They'll put this character profile. So we have kind of our own version of doing this, and this is really part of who are you selling to. It's to remind you that you're selling to real people, and that those people tend to fit certain kinds of things that they care about, so that you don't create content or frameworks that they don't care about. And identifying your tangent markets is what might you want to include on your site, what might be advantageous for marketing purposes. Okay, so that's really what we're focused on. okay, in week 1.
So in this entire process, Matt's going to use as an example site a beauty salon site that he did for Sassy. He started from the ground up, went through the entire process, and he's also got a case study that he's put together. Give me a 1 if you guys have already seen that case study, and a 2 if we should maybe walk through it quite quickly.
He's got his markup nice. See, a lot of you're going to learn a lot of the nitnoids, including things like this, getting your, you know, your markup happening. And here's his site. So this will be one of the case studies that you'll be looking at. Looks like some people have seen it and some people have not. This is really, we do have the entire case study in here for you. But what you get in this training, among many things, is clarity on the specific things that he went through to get this site like that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that in there. What the heck are you selling? Okay, Sue, I'm just trying to remember, are we going over these items this week?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I should go right into what the heck you're selling. So that was the overview. Okay, let's get right into what the heck are you selling. Because you guys really got to get yourself organized in this, and we're here to help you through this process. So here's the process that we're going to be taking you through: your product, your pain, the language used, and then your keywords. Okay, this is what we call an extraction process, and this is an extraction process that is newer than it's unlikely that most of you, unless you've been with us for years, have been exposed to this process. As far as we know, we're the only ones really providing an ISDNA process. That ISDNA means your industry invention, okay, DNA. Okay, that's the process you'll be going through, and that process is essentially here. Okay, so a lot of people will start with the keywords. They'll maybe try to find some language for their headlines, and they'll be like, oh yeah, probably I should address a pain in the market since I'm selling it. And what is my product again? Okay, so we want you guys, in order to build an SEO silo architecture structure, we really want you to go the opposite direction that most kind of business opportunity seekers are going, okay? So I'd like to start this by each one of you typing in, this is kind of a trick question, but what is the product that you are currently selling? And I don't want you to think about it for more than 10 seconds. And if you do not have that product by then, that means you don't know. And that's okay too. I want you guys to know that it's okay to not know what your product is, but it does help me get to know you. Okay, I'm going to throw out some ideas here. Okay, one of you has a product relating to cats. Fantastic, that's very clear. SEO is a product. Commercial real estate is a product. Granite, okay, those are very specific, tangible. It doesn't get any more tangible than that. Granite worktops, excellent. That's really something for you to get your hands around. Okay, and then we have someone doing pay-per-call. Okay. Okay, there's also quartz worktops, countertops in America. Okay. So, wow, we have somebody building a listing portal. Okay. Yeah, self-defense products. And SEO. Oh, wow, we have someone selling agile development. Is that agile development as in software agile? And then we have project management. Okay. So we have a lot of, very interesting. I'm a huge fan of agile development. Okay, excellent. So that's a lot of diverse products. Now, at that point, what's different about our process that we really want you to go through is that we need to find the pain around that product. That is the ISDNA, if you will. That is your industry. Your product better solve a pain in the industry. Otherwise, you're selling a commodity, and that's what I was really looking for here. Is are there folks in here selling something that a lot of people sell? Because at that point, you're creating a storefront, and you're making money on volume, and your model is a little bit different. It's not that it can't be done. It's just we want to know, which one of you, for example, if you were selling, I'm trying to get an example, candy bars, for instance. That would, you'd have a lot of brand building and a lot of distinction to create. Hi, Stephen. It's good to see you. And yeah, okay, digital scrapbooking is another one. That's interesting. Okay. So, and even if it, now it's interesting too, because you might think like something like digital scrapbooking doesn't solve a pain. That's not necessarily true. What we do is if your product is not solving a pain, it usually falls in the realm of entertainment, which by the way is still a pleasure, which is the inverse of pain. We call that an irrational passion. Okay, and we're going to go over in week 2, I take you guys through a pretty strong process of recognizing either an immense pain solving or an irrational passion. And what I wanted to point out is that an irrational passion is completely fine in lieu of a pain, because there is actually a relationship between a passion, an irrational passion. It solves the pain of life in general. It's actually part of solving the more existential angst, even though it doesn't solve a specific problem. And for instance, wedding hair and makeup is actually an irrational passion, and we'll get into that in week 2. The reason we know that is because we're going to show you exactly how to find out how much pain and irrational passion or addiction there is to something in a market. We know that because there are magazines that are only about not just general hairstyles, but wedding hairstyles. So generally speaking, if you can launch an entire magazine or a reality TV show on something, even if it's not a painkiller directly, in terms of its global market impact, if it's an addiction and irrational passion, that is fine as well. Even though wedding planning is also a huge painkiller, because honestly, when you're getting married and you're planning these weddings, especially for women, it's an extremely painful scenario to not have that day be the most important and memorable time on earth, in their life. Okay, so that really is a pain solution as well as an irrational passion. And we'll get into that in week 2, where Matt talks about things they've discovered in their market. Okay, so that's just a general understanding. So what is the pain? One of the things we'll go in week 2 is what is the pain being solved? Okay, you don't have to figure out all this today, but what we really want you to know is why you start with what the heck are you selling? Okay, and then once you know what that pain is, then you can start to isolate the language around that pain. And it's going to be a little bit different from each one of you. You know, for instance, I think Marina's talking about agile development. I know a huge amount about that market. You know, the language and the one-line zingers, you know, for example, just giving you, in that market, people have done it very, very well, Marina. For example, Eric Weiss talks about, you know, life's too short to to make products that nobody wants, right? I don't know, Marina, if you've read, you know, the Lean Startup. But think about that one-line zinger. That actually took them 1.5 years to come up with that one-line zinger. Can you believe that? Life's too short to build products that nobody wants. When I first read that in his book, I just read the back cover. I went, ouch. I mean, it struck right to the core, and I bought his book instantly. That's a true story. That's an actual example. You know, I'm an expert, you know, neuromarketing positioner, and so when I see somebody getting right to the heart of a pain, it's always very impressive to me. I'm consciously aware, I'm metacognitively aware when somebody has sold me instantly. So I always write those things down when they do. But that's an example of somebody who got right to the pain and formed the language around it. Okay, think about that. Life's too short to build products that nobody wants. Now, is there really any keywords in that one-line zinger? No, he was a sentence that got right to my pain. Well, products, building products, product development. It sort of contained the seeds of the keywords, didn't it? You know what I'm talking? Give me a one if you guys understand what I'm talking about here, about giving you that example in the lean startup, lean development. How many millions of dollars in software subscriptions has Eric Weiss sold? I'm sorry, Eric Ries, not Eric Weiss, guys. Eric Weiss is a different person. Think about that, how easily he's able to sell those books and how he's able to sell software subscriptions. So that gives you an example of formulating the pain, coming up with that zinger, and then the keywords are almost like an afterthought. Okay, so then you find all the language around, for instance, building products that nobody wants and how dangerous it is, losing money, going bankrupt. Okay, there's all kinds of language then, literally several hours. That's where you account for all the hours that we have up here. You know, that's where you start formulating language. We have something called the ISG&A spreadsheet that we're going to work on next week. Really a major course. The week 2 is, some people have said it's one of the most advanced marketing and market research training sessions that they've ever had, and the other shoe drops for them in terms of keyword research, because you can literally extract all of the keywords out of that. So if I know, for instance, that the pain in the market is building products that nobody wants and losing all my money and having my business fail, business failure then will be extracted from those various spreadsheet. We're going to take you step by step through the process of looking at the pains in your market and extracting keywords, and then we're going to show you how to research those keywords in terms of rankings and everything else. It's really a comprehensive system. Okay? Comments? Do you have something to add to that, Sue? It might enliven that or enrich that a little bit. What's your insight, your thoughts?
You know, I was actually helping the last two people get into the webinar.
So thank you. Thank you. That's quite all right. Yeah, we are still during launch day, folks. Sue's doing one thing, I'm doing the other, and normally Matt's here, and he's still having a little bit of internet connection problems. So hopefully he'll be here at some point during the event. Okay, that's good. So we'll just keep moving. Figure out what pains exist inside your market. Figure out what language the market uses to find your product, and you will document the keywords you discover on this awesome spreadsheet. Go into week 2, and you guys, some of you I know are sneaking ahead and peeking ahead. We have all of it, and we have it there. Okay, I think this might even be it. Yeah, okay, good. So that's what we're going to get into. So that's what the heck are you selling. Now, what I'm going to do now. Go ahead,
that
Sue.
Google Doc, I believe, is what the heck are you selling?
Okay, let's pull that up.
That's actually what they should be working on this week.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the document that since I teach week 2, I'm a little bit overly focused on week 2, as you guys probably have seen. But you really actually have to have this set up before you get to my stuff, because next week's a doozy, you guys. Like, it's a doozy. I mean, it's literally the Russell Wright boot camp of everything you ever wanted to know about how to hack the brain and put it into a website that converts and ranks. Like, it's crazy. So you really have to have the what the heck are you selling stuff set up. Okay, so let's go through this spreadsheet a little bit. A lot of you already threw out what you thought you were selling, and a lot of you, I really like, I think it was one of you is selling granite countertops. I mean, how that's, like, when I think of tangibles, that it doesn't get much more tangible than that, except maybe concrete, which we actually had somebody selling concrete by mail. I've heard of that before. So, I mean, those are real tangibles. So your language is going to be clear. The pain that it solves is going to be clear, or the irrational passion of it is going to be clear.
So just so you know how this works, this doc you're not going to be able to edit, but what you can do is go up to File,
okay,
and hit Make a Copy, and
yeah, right there.
You should be able to copy that over to your own Google Docs area, and then you can do whatever you want to with it. You can edit it.
Excellent.
And so then sometimes, so like when we look at the Sassy website, they actually have a variety of products. Obviously, they do haircut and they do hair color. They also do
makeup,
and they do wedding and hairstyles from makeup and hairstyles for weddings. And so they've got several different classifications, and it's really helpful to just let me just take a look. Products, benefits, perform, pain finder.
She also has they also have classes, which I didn't know. She's actually
oh, that's now. Right. She's started that.
Yeah.
So what you're going to want to do is take 1 through 7 and copy it for each, if not every single product. Like some of you have got like literally hundreds and thousands of products. So obviously you don't want to do it for every product.
Yeah.
But you want to do it for at least every product class. So in the sense of Sassy, I do like haircuts for one product. I do makeup for another product. I might do hair color for another product.
Yep.
Perms, and then the wedding stuff, right? So that you're looking at 5 or 6 different products. And the interesting thing that they found when they were looking at their target market is each product had a different target market. So some products like haircuts, everything from the entire lifespan of the customer. But other things such as weddings, they're pretty focused. There's the big weddings are the ones that typically you have makeup and hair done for, and that generally speaking only comes once in your life. And so they're targeting a particular demographic for that, right?
Yep.
They also found, as they were looking at the profit, how much does your product cost and how much do you make off of it, they found that certain segments they made most of their money on. For example, teenagers come in to have their hair cut every once in a while, but it's usually just a trim, bang trim, split-in trim, not a big deal. But as those ladies get older and they move into the professional market, then they start to have their hair done more regularly. But it's not until they get old enough to where they start coloring their hair, they start coming in like once a month. And so that demographic from the time that they're in their late 30s, early 40s until the time that they retire is actually the demographic that they make most of their money off of. Obviously, with the weddings, you get a big pop, and those come seasonally, twice a year in South Africa as opposed to once a year in other places. And so as they were looking at this, as they used this document to map out all the different products and the demographics and the information about those demographics, they got some insight into their business as to how they wanted to approach the marketing. In other words, what are the most important demographics that you want to go after? Because when you're starting your marketing, when you've got a variety of different products and a variety of different demographics, it's very easy to get lost in the forest for the trees. Right? So it's easy to go to think that this is the thing that you want to market to first because it's the easiest, but when you look at it this way, you realize that's not actually where your money is.
Yeah.
So my thing is follow the money. Right? You're going to hear me say that a dozen times over the course of this, probably even just today, right? But definitely through the course. As I look at keywords, as I look at products, as I look at demographics, I'm always trying to follow the money, because if you get caught up in your business, which as business owners don't we always, if you've gone after your primary demographic first, then you know you're going to be making money, and the other demographics can come on as they come on. So what we want to focus on over the course of the next 8 weeks is just getting your first silo or 2 silos up. Don't try to build out your entire website over the course of 8 weeks. It's a pretty difficult thing to do. But if you get 2 silos up over these 8 weeks, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
And then you can come back after the fact and start tacking on more silos, and that'll go through exactly how to do that.
Yeah, and to back up what Sue just said was incredibly important. Follow the money is something that she's always said since the beginning of the inception of our companies 10 years ago. And she was good at it then as far as money management, and she's better at it now in managing 4 companies that are in the multi-million dollars range. So you should listen to that. It's really, really important. I've learned a ton from that. I would like to add to that some things, some nuance that I've learned in the last decade in working with her, is that don't throw out your common sense. It's a weird thing. Don't throw out your common sense while you're doing the technical data and analysis and everything we're doing, but at the same time, don't throw out the data for your common sense. Okay, so there's going to be a really weird balanced experience that you guys are going to have here of, for instance, the person in our group here, I won't use your names for most of the products, but who's selling the granite countertops. He probably, if you've been running a business and you physically understand the money that you've been making, and you can go back and you can look at your accounts receivables, you can look at everything, and you know that you've made a ton of money on, granite chopping blocks, but not so much on counters or remodeling entire kitchens. You probably made a lot of money up front on remodeling the kitchen and putting that in, but you sold 3 times to 5 times the amount of granite chopping blocks, and they're easier to make, and you just made more money. Take that into account. Like, don't look at the keyword research and all that. Don't replace data sculpting and projection for things that you've actually experienced on the ground. But, talk it through. Like, talk to us about it. Toss it across Sue's plate, toss it across my plate, Matt's plate. We'll look at it, and what I'm saying is don't throw away the fundamental experience, if you have it, of your actual internal business numbers. We call that fundamental analysis. Technical analysis is for those of you who maybe don't have any products, you don't have projections yet. Then for you, the next best thing is going to be to use the numbers that we show you how to sculpt your data. You have something to add to that, Sue?
Yeah. I can give you a real world example.
Yeah, I knew you were going to. I knew. We actually went through this ourselves, guys. That's why we're.
So, trying to help some folks that we're partnering with get. They've got a brand new website, and they've got all of their products in Amazon, and they've given us some technical information on what their sales are, but it was just from a few hours. So a few hours, one day, post-Christmas. And so I've got this list of about 20 different products. They've got literally hundreds of products, but I got this list of about 20 different products that they're selling. And so I go into TLKT and I go into Crackit, I'm doing some keyword research, and I'm looking for keywords around these particular products. Out of the 20, maybe 30 products that they gave us, there's 10 or so. Somebody said they can't hear me. Can you guys hear me? Give me one if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, good.
I think that's Mahaya's connection.
So, all right. So, so out of this maybe 30 products, there's like 10 products that are making most of the money out of these few hours in the day. So I'm doing keyword research on these 10 products, and normally there is an 80-20 rule. And so as we're going to go do looking to actually get some rankings going for these guys, I was working with Jimmy. It was like, well, we definitely want to go with the products that are selling well. Like since it's a new website, Amazon products, like all these pages are new, so you want to take what they're selling well and make more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm doing keyword research on these products, I've got maybe 2 out of these 10 products that have got keywords that are showing me significant searches, and the rest of the products, I'm not finding any keywords that have got any searches whatsoever. So these sales are obviously coming off of the old website, not necessarily what's ranking on the website, but quite possibly what their existing customer base is buying. So I went back to Jimmy and I'm like, we need more technical information. I actually need technical information that spans a good 30 days because I don't believe what I'm seeing here.
Right.
Like the keywords and searches on the keywords and the information on the technical information, they're not matching up. So, like that's just, it's an interesting.
What was the outcome of that? I was curious. Tell me later.
Well, we did it last night, right?
I know.
So I just went back to Jimmy and I said I need more technical information. I don't have it.
Oh, we don't have it yet.
I'll keep you posted, but it's just one of those where I'm unwilling to let the information in my keyword tools drive my decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to get some kind of an agreement. I want those 2 ideas to line up a little bit better, and
it doesn't have to be perfect. One thing that I learned from Sue early on is that, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but when we first started developing software, a lot of it was because I came to her and I was trying to make 14 different keyword tools all agree and all their data disagreed. And you'll find that too. So that's one of the things that you can be aware of is that all the tools out there are not going to necessarily use the same means, the same data sources. So what you're looking for is a balance. You're trying to normalize all those data. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just if you do have any major conflicts between keyword tools, you'll start to realize, well, a lot of that depends on how they're pulling their data, what it's for, how it's being interpreted. So that's something also.
But it's the why. It's actually when I look at keyword data and I find a discrepancy, it's the why that drives me to dig a little bit deeper, and then I understand what's in the mind of my consumer better.
Yes.
Right. So, like, let's say that one particular keyword is what actually drives all the traffic to their website, but once they get there, they're met with a particular page that's set up in such a way that it ends up driving most of the sales in a different direction. Right. So then that's something that they've got set up very particularly on an existing website.
Yeah.
So this is like...
Yeah, and then that's a weird pivot point too, because then you have a choice. Maybe the other products are just fine, but you need to set up the conversion the same way. Or maybe those other products really are not in demand, and no matter how well the page converted, they wouldn't sell. And so that's the big $1 million question right there that I just laid out for you guys. Is like, do you tweak conversion? Or do you recognize that there's a real problem? So here's the issue. It's not about data, you guys. It's not just about data and it's not access to information. Here's the most important quote I'll give you myself for this entire event. It's not about that. It's about, can you turn the data into information that can't be ignored? So in other words, it's not just about information, it's about information that cannot and should not be ignored. And how do you know when that red flag pops up? And it is absolutely data that you should not ignore. Sue is just a genius at automatically finding that in like 20 seconds or less. But it took me years of experience to get to that point. Now, most of our tools will red flag that for you, so that's one of the many processes here. One thing I would like to ask Andy, I wanted to make sure that you weren't joking, Andy, when you said, what is a silo? And no offense, it's entirely possible that you don't know, but the entire course was based on SEO silo architecture. And I find it curious that you were able to not be exposed to that concept. Andy, can you just give me a one if you were not exposed to silo architecture?
We actually have about a half a dozen people in this course. Not all of them are on this webinar today.
Okay.
That are brand new.
Okay. Okay, that's all right. I don't judge. I'm not used to that, and I'm kind of glad actually. That puts us in a position. In some ways, you guys are. Yeah, Andy, it's okay. It's a way a website is designed to rank higher for far fewer inbound links than your competition. It's a technical SEO layout.
Yeah, it's a technical linking structure.
Yeah. Let me just close the webinar window here. I suppose I could. We're going to actually get into that.
Can you bring up the wiki entry?
Yeah, I'm pulling that up now. Yeah. Let me just find that real quick.
So it's an interesting thing. The concept behind a silo is you set up your website so that different ideas in your website are segregated from each other. So let's say that you've got chocolate, the concept of chocolate and the concept of peanut butter on your website. There we go. So so this is a diagram of a website. You've got the home page at the top, and then you've got what we call the silo landing pages at the next level. So let's say that the first silo landing page is representative of the concept of chocolate. And then all of those pages underneath it that are at the category level, all of those ideas would have to do with chocolate, different ideas of chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, light chocolate. It's interesting because it was actually chocolate that I was looking at last night. So then let's say that we take a look at silo number 3, and let's say that that's about peanut butter. So then all of the supporting pages underneath that would be stuff about peanut butter. There could be chunky peanut butter, smooth peanut butter, Skippy, different brands of peanut butter, whatever. So the pages in the chocolate silo, they interlink to each other, but they don't interlink to any of the pages over in the peanut butter silo. And when this happens, when you have an entire group of pages that are about a single topic that link together, it makes it really easy for search engines to understand what it is that those pages are about. What you're basically doing is establishing the theme of those pages on the website, and so that means that you need a lot fewer inbound links to establish that theme. In fact, up to 90% fewer inbound links. So that's the strength behind silo architecture. It gives you theming, if you will, within your site so that you can have radically different topics on the same site and still rank highly for all of them. If you have a site where all of the pages interlink to all of the other pages, then you only end up with the most broad concept being established amongst all those pages. So, for example, I saw that Michael's on the call today, and I know he's into safety stuff, and he's got all different kinds of safety equipment. And so you've got, I'm trying to think wildly about the different kinds of safety equipment now. You've got, let's say you've got like things that pertain to guns, and then you've got things that pertain to home security systems, and there we go, stun guns, pepper sprays. So if you have all of those pages that interlink to each other, then the only theme that you can really come away with is the concept of safety, personal safety, right? But if you put, let's say that you put all of the different stun guns in one particular silo so that you've got 100 different stun guns, they all interlink to each other, then you can look at those pages and go, hey, wow, these things are specifically about stun guns. And then not only do those pages rank better for the, you rank, your website becomes more authoritative for this idea of stun guns, but you also rank much easier for the individual keywords that relate to stun guns, like the individual brands. So does that make sense, how linking those pages together makes for a stronger website and ranking easier? Give me a one if that's clear. And
yes, and Andy says, okay, interlinking your website. Yes, Andy, SEO silo architecture is a very specific type of internal linking inside your website that's on-page and internal site. Exactly. And it's a lot simpler than a lot of people make it, but because it's so easy to do, it's so difficult to stay that most website software development packages don't do it properly for optimal ranking, such as WordPress doesn't do it optimally. It's a long story we don't need to get into, but the bottom line just today, you walk away with an understanding that there's a way to create your site when done properly that's very difficult to do post hoc afterwards to fix, but it's easy to do when you're just starting it.
Yeah, I tell you what, back in the day, my first silo structured sites were back in the days when HTML was all the rage, right? Really before blocks became a big deal. And that was a real pain, because then the first site I really did like that was a wedding site. And so let's look, like if you think of this idea of catering, which was one of the hugest silos on there, because we had all of the different kinds of food that you could cater down in there. So if they wanted to like subtract an idea from the catering, or wanted to add a new idea to the menu, which they tended to do on a far too regular basis, they had to go in and manually change the menu for the entire silo so that nothing was linking to that page, or so that the new page was being linked to. So with the advent of blogs, where everything is in a CMS, it becomes a lot easier to do in theory, but unfortunately, blogs in and of themselves, they don't inherently silo. So we created plugins to make your life a whole lot easier. We've got a total of 4 of them now, and you don't have to think about it anymore. You can just use our plugin, you put in your keywords, and Bob is your uncle.
Yeah, and it's nice that you guys are here doing this round of the Perpetual Mastermind Group, because we're about to launch the completely built from the ground up. Sue and the team, we've been hard at work. So we have both the free, the video, and we have a new simple silo plugin, which is designed for a unique thing we'll get into later. So that's just what everybody, I think, has a good idea. We got a lot of ones, so we'll just pass on that. That should give you a general overview. Now, that being said, that's more telling you what's coming, because you don't really want to get, I'm glad you've got the basis for understanding it now. Andy brought up a great question. This is why it's even more important to get your product pane language then keywords, for the very reason that Sue was discussing on the layout. Because let's take a look at this. Like, you know, if you don't know what the heck you're selling, generally speaking, what the heck you're selling and what your product categories or departments are going to be silo landing page oriented. Not necessarily though. So there's the size and the scale of your business. If you've only got 1 or 2 products, then your site's going to be structured a little bit different than if you're a shopping cart with 20,000 products, right? Because you've got a lot deeper categories, a lot more silos. So this is how you have to think about the scale. And each one of you has a slightly different model, which is, again, why we want to make sure that what you're selling, what the heck are you selling, comes first. And what is the pain of what you're selling? Because a lot of the time the pain of what you're selling will be the way the headlines, the title tags, and the successive articles are going to be supporting that solution by bringing up the keywords that are answering that pain. So that's why we are having you fill out this form, so that you'll be able to clearly define that, so that you don't. A lot of people who build silo sites that we've discussed, they just do some keyword research and they throw it up. They're not thinking about how to best engage the persuasion architecture.
Exactly. So let's take, for example, if you've got family clothing as a set of products. So you've got options here as to how you can silo out your site. You could have one entire silo be shirts and blouses, right? Shirts, t-shirts, blouses, and they could be for men and boys and women. And then you could have another silo that would be pants, again, for men, boys, and women. But you find, I mean, just common sense tells you most sites aren't laid out like that, right? Most sites are laid out so that you've got women's clothing, and then underneath women's clothing you've got shirts and t-shirts and blouses and pants and skirts and dresses, right? And that's because when women get on a website to shop, they want to look at clothes that are for them. So they're targeting that demographic within that silo.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that women don't buy clothes for their spouse or for their kids. But when they do, they're kind of in that mindset, right? They're looking for clothes for their kids. And if they're looking for a 10-year-old boy, then he's a particular size. And so you're going to have other clothes that are roughly that size that are available that are on the sidebar. So that's coming at it from a demographic perspective, which is why we want to get you in that mindset at the very beginning. You think about your audience, you think about the products that you're selling to your audience, and you get that in your head, and then you're going to silo your site in a way that's going to make more sense to your audience. Otherwise, people start to come at this. Most of the people who take our courses are pretty technically oriented, and they tend to overthink things and overanalyze things that get stuck in the left side of their brain. And then it's like, oh, you think about it like a robot and not about what your customer, what your visitor, your website visitors are going to be looking at. And so then it just is like, oh, well, I'll just take all of these products because they're all alike. I'll just take all the shirts and I'll stick them in a single silo. And so while this is an overly obvious example, it's just...
But it's an excellent example. It's actually an excellent example.
One of the reasons we want to wrench you out of that side of your brain and get you over into your customer's brain. And so that you set your site up so that it'll convert better. Yeah,
there's SEO and there's visitor enhanced optimization. So all of that's part of VEO. All of that is part of a nice balance that we want you to walk away with. Okay.
So we should show them Painfinder as well, because Painfinder is the other thing that they're going to want to tackle this week.
Yeah, and I guess everybody has access to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So it's actually linked on the form. I'm going to go over here to another screen and make sure that I have username and password. So you'll go to the login area. That's okay. I have some good ones in here. We have so many accounts. Okay, so yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. You're going to log into the area with the username and password that you're given, and you're going to create a project. And the project name is for you. So it's just for you to remember what project you're in. So if I was doing agile development, which I know Marina is doing, I could call, I don't know how you name your project, so it could be Agile Dev Project. Okay, and then what's interesting about this is I do two drills. I do one for the broader term, and I do one for I might go more granular, but with Painfinder, the more granular, it's not like the last keyword tool, one of our other products, where it doesn't matter how granular you go, like how long tail. Like agile development in New York software convention, you could actually put that in the last keyword tool, and you might even get some keywords back from it. In here, you don't want to go that long tail, so I would just do agile development.
So if I've got clients, I tend to put the client in the project name.
Okay.
Because that helps me remember what it is I'm doing. So I'll put like the client name and the project for the client, and then I can find it easier. And it's going to bring all these back in alphabetical order. So that's the other reason why if I put it by client name, then they all sort out together.
Okay. Somebody said here,
it didn't yield any UK results. Yeah, it's so this is
no. Just take the Painfinder is just the first step, and we are making a variety of different kinds of enhancements to Painfinder so that it pulls from this more than just the sources that we are. But don't make the presumption that sometimes Painfinder is a miss on certain products because we're drawing from Quora. So if it's not in Quora, then it's not going to be. It doesn't mean that there's no market for it. Okay, but this is some. I just want to go ahead and just be out there with that. There are times when Quora is going to lean towards the more technical universe and to the more popular types of subjects like insurance and like basic stuff. But if you get super weird, like purple granite countertops in Ohio, it's not going to be anything.
What?
But that does not mean that there's no money in it. It just means that you're not going to be able to use this as a sort of, you're going to want to get much more broad, like countertops. You would first drill into countertops. And since you're in the UK because you use something other than countertop, I think there are international limits to the, we should really just be straight with that. If you're not in the United States and you've got a term that's less US and more slang, then you're going to probably want to find some other methods. Yes, Steve says they use the word worktops. It would be interesting for me to drill into this. Probably worktops. You want to go with what we call a synonym, and a US synonym would be countertops. So we do get into synonyms and polsyms and all these quite a bit. I mean, that's one of our core competencies, is dealing with the very different ways of saying the same thing. And really what you do want to do on your site is say, you can really look at it like this. The person who says the same thing in the most number of ways with the highest converting compelling copy wins. But if your demographic is not in the United States and nobody's going to be searching for countertops and you don't care if they do, then worktops is going to be your only, you're not going to worry about countertops being a synonym. Does that make sense, Steve? So this may or may not be interesting to you, this data. But for one of Marina's project, is agile development a joke? That's funny. But that's actually a compelling headline. Marina, did you know that? Did you see how I was first compelled to go to that? So you should just take note of that. And what we do in the software is we've got 3,658 views, 27 people are following that question, and there's been 15 answers. Now, when this does come up positive, this is a gold mine of future headlines and things for your regular blog broadcasts and posts, but it's also good to start building your understanding of what the pains are in the market. Now, I use it for a variety of different things. We do have a status update, so in other words, you can mark this as yellow, like, wow, I really want to answer that. Here's one I would really love to answer. That'd be a great blog post. Here's the answer. What is the best web-based tool for managing agile development design products? So if I was a company like Pivotal, Tracker, I would want to answer that one, and I would probably create an article that was not directly pitching myself, but doing pretty much what, for example, Pivotal Tracker does, which is, create information on why their product was created and certain things you have to have, and it's all information, what we call edge marketing based. So that would be that. Does that make sense? And also that you even have some competitive analysis in here. There's a lot of people using Trello, so if I'm another product, I'm representing another product, Trello has some real limitations that Pivotal Tracker does not, so I would definitely answer that. And then once it's answered, you would just go to answered. And this, we are making major enhancements to this, which I'm not supposed to tell them. It's going to be put into a plugin eventually, right, Sue? But eventually this will be put into a plugin. So we have some pretty cool things in here. But you just go down and look. You can also export these, Marina, and everyone else. You can export these. Do you use the web apps for managing distributed agile development team? Great question. Definitely answer that one. Actually, you've got a gold mine worth of concepts and answers here. Okay, so that gives you...
So some of the things the ways that I use this is if I find something interesting when I'm in the research mode for my actual project, if I find an interesting question here, you can actually click through to that and see the question in Quora.
Yep.
And you can take a look at the discussion.
Go here.
Because that helps to find the actual pain that you're looking for in the market. The other tool that I use when I don't find what it is that I'm looking for in Quora, the reason I like Quora is they have a team that actually stays on top of the question and answers. And so you don't get a lot of spam in this form.
Yeah. So this is all Quora. We just got a question related to what Sue just said. Mihai, this is all only Pain Finder at this time. Okay, so, only Quora at this time, which means that it is not international. I believe Quora is only in the United States at this time. However, there has been discussion. They do have a presence in Europe, and Europeans answer this for the most part. So whatever you mean by global, the data is coming directly from Quora. Okay.
So if you don't find what it is that you're looking for in Pain Finder, you might try Gilly, because that's an international. It just goes out and searches a bunch of different forums and helps you find different topics. You get a lot more spam there, but when you're looking for pain, just keep in mind that it's not like Yahoo Answers went away a few months ago. because it was nothing but a spam form. So there you go. But
you can do past day, past week. Is it
yeah.
a little less spammy?
Well, you can sort through the spam faster, I think.
Agile vehicles, but you can also do some phrase match. I believe they still have phrase match in here.
I think so.
There you go. So just do a phrase match in there. So what were you, Mahai, I'm not sure what your products were, but this would probably be a better one for you to use. And if for some reason Painfinder and Quora is not the right, you're too weird or distinct or offbeat or niche, then just use Omjili. Okay? We actually probably ought to add that to the document.
Yes. They actually just started coming up with a feed, so we might be able to incorporate that now.
I'll just put that in there for you guys.
Cool.
Okay, that's a good point, Sue. All right, good. So let's move on a little bit. Steve Patterson, yes, Yahoo Answers is either gone or on its way out.
It's gone.
I think, are you sure? I think it's still posting. You can't post to it anymore, right?
I don't know.
Huh. You might be right. We'll have to look into that.
I think it's gone.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, it's on its way out for sure. The API stopped working, and we know because we had some software that was posting answers and the rest, and it doesn't work now, so we're replacing it now. Okay, good. So give me a 1 if you have a pretty general good idea of the flow of what we mean by pain. Remember that I don't want you guys to think that Painfinder is the keyword research. That's not the, that's just a software that's designed to get you percolating, to look at the pains. Okay, I want to make that really clear. Like, Marina, you have a general understanding. Let's just take the agile development. I love the fact that we just looked like, is agile development a joke? And it's just in 30 seconds going through this, what people are expressing with that question is serious pain of implementation. And as you know, Marina, it's fairly difficult for people who have been doing things the opposite way a long time. Of course, I love it. This is usually their reaction. Is this a joke? So that's pretty much the essence of the pain. And as a result, there's a lot of products out there to make it not a joke for them. So, but that's a pain. If your product is offering a solution like software, that's exactly what we're talking about. No, it's not only is it not a joke, I can take the pain away from. Does Quora do exact keyword search? Yes, I believe it does. But I don't believe we do it. I don't believe we implement that in the software. That's a great question. I can't remember how we coded that, Sue. Actually, I believe that we're already doing. I can't remember.
What is it? Can you ask me that?
Oh yeah, she was asking whether we do phrase match or broad match for.
We do phrase match.
Yeah, it's already phrase match, Marina. I'm 99.9% sure it's phrase match. Okay. So yeah, you can. But she says between words. Well, no, not between. This, like agile development, for example, these have to contain the word agile development in order to bring something back. If it's just the word agile, then it won't bring something back. As opposed to Omjili, I had to put the phrase match in there, otherwise it brought back just anything with the word agile in it, like agile football team is not what we're interested in. Okay, agile basketball players and athletes. Okay, so that's good. All right, so that's what I wanted to make you guys clear of. I don't want you to feel like if you're not getting anything with that there's no other keyword tools or functions. This is just getting you started before you hand Matt off your major keyword. Like I already know, for example, Marina, you'll hand him agile development if that's the project you're working on with us, and he'll be able to drill in a ton of things. But if you weren't sure of that, and you might think it's Scrum, for instance, you know, which is a related term, you might hand him that one instead, or you might hand him both. So this is why you look through the panes before you set up, because the pane is going to draw the language, and it ultimately is going to lead to the keyword and the theme that you're going to drill into. Give me a 1 if everybody understands that Painfinder is just right in here, and a 2 if you're still a little unclear. Okay, great. Looks like we got everybody. This is just the starting point. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and go back to the, okay, so what the heck are you selling? Wow, we just got started, didn't we? So who are you selling to? And this is related to a lot of things we've already discussed. We've pretty much, Sue said a lot about that. What are you selling to? I think I would actually like to discuss that with you on audio and insert that in here. It was really, really good. In other words,
Sure.
like how not to hijack your market. In other words, just get overly technical. So you're trying to rank for the word shirt, or you have all the shirts in one silo without thinking about who's the likely person, what kind of person or profile is on your site. I really like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so cool. I know that you like to talk about this, so you want to hit this one?
Sure. Well, I did sort of cover this already when I talked about the different segments that SASU looked at when they were looking at their products and who it is that they're selling to. So you've got your high school prom, you've got young ladies that are just going to university, young working professionals, and then you've got the more mature ladies in the 25 to 35 category, and they decided that their money was in the 25 to 35 and in the 35 to 44, actually. I see you stuck a different category in there. So it's actually the 35 to 40. Wait, let me read this a second. Business owners, working professional, mom, wife, bride. Business owners, working professional, mom, wife. Yeah, so it's the 25 to 45 is the segment that they really want to go after. And so then they backed up and they looked at the products that they sell to those, and those were the first products that they put on the site. And they only just, well, when the site, like the last silo I think that they put up really was the wedding silo, because they wanted, because weddings are such a big deal, they had a whole bunch of pictures and they wanted to take the time and put that together well so that it was appealing to brides-to-be. And because it was very time intensive, they put up the fact that they did weddings, but they didn't put up too much other than that. They just put out like a holding place for the silo so that brides-to-be would know that they did them and go ahead and contact them. But then at the end, they wrapped back around and they did a huge silo on weddings. And I have to say, I think it's some of the prettiest pictures that they've got on the site. Like, I would actually be more inclined to go get my hair done there because of some of the outrageous things that they've done with the brides.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it implies when you see things, when you see people at their best, even though that may not be the product you're buying, it implies that they're average, that they're capable of something amazing, even if you're there just for your day to day.
Exactly.
One thing I would like to add here, I get this question a lot. Okay, that's all very well and good, Russell, but it's amazing that he has all this data, but how the heck did he get all this data? Now, let's speak to that a little bit. I realize that some of you have no possibility of necessarily knowing this, but we do show you some methods where you can sort of get close. If you don't have any data internal, it's called endogenous internal or esoteric data from your own company, then you've got to kind of make stuff up a little bit by doing some ad hoc research. Okay, there's things that you can do, like what is the site, Sue? Where is it? They try to give you demographics in general of other sites, and we actually talk about that in here. It's listed here. If we don't go, we're not going to go over it right now.
The first thing you want to do is sit down and interview your client, if it's your client. And that's some feedback going on. Hang on just a second. Oh, maybe Matt has joined us. So, there we go. That's better.
Okay.
So,
well, that's it. But that's internal. So the point I wanted to make is that there's two ways to get this data. There's internal, to your company and clients, and then there's external.
Exactly. So, but I just wanted to, like, before you go and do research somewhere else, I want to say, stop and actually interview the client. And oftentimes, so within my company, I found that I made a lot of assumptions, and that it was actually quite helpful for me to go and talk to some of the people on the ground about what was actually going on in their interactions with our clients.
Yeah, very much.
And so I think it's important to not make any assumptions.
Well, exactly.
And sometimes the person that you're talking to when you're talking to your client is not the person that knows the most about their client base.
Exactly. So let's take a real-world example. Who's the gentleman who's selling countertops, granite? Here's a real practical example.
I think that's Steve.
Steve, is that you? I'm sorry, there's so many people in this. We really, yeah,
we really
Steve,
have a big class.
Steve Patterson. Okay, let's take a real example. Steve, I'm assuming you've been making granite. I know it's not countertops, but that's the only word I know. Okay.
Worktops.
Worktops. Gosh. So I can't get that one. That's going to take me a while to get. You've probably sold quite a few of them, and if you had, the real question that it becomes interesting to me is like, who's making that buying decision for it? If we found out that during the kitchen remodeling process you've sold this many of this type of countertop, who's actually making that buying decision? Like, do you even know? I'm asking you a real question there, Steve. Do you know who makes the actual buying decision? Like, who finds you? Okay, who is it? Is it the wife or is it the husband? And what is the average? You would, after a certain point in time, find the average age to be, like the same way that Matt found business owner, professional, right? Probably you would discover that it was either the wife who is wanting a kitchen remodel and she's on average between 35 and probably if you contacted 10 or 30 people, if you haven't collected that data already, which a lot of people don't, but there are those who do, then you would begin to realize where you're targeting and where they are in the life cycle. And sure, occasionally you might have a 23-year-old buy the counter for some reason, So what Steve is saying, the split is approximately 50-50 with a swing 60-40. I don't know what that means. The age is, are you saying age 60 or?
No, he's saying with a variance between 60 and 40.
Okay, cool. So you have the general demographic. Now what's interesting there is that that's the life cycle. That's you doing what we call fundamental analysis for the life cycle. Okay?
That really surprises me. I would have said that hands down it was the woman who made the decisions. That's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, who is the 60? The men are 60%? Or?
Well, he's saying that it's usually about 50-50 men to women, but occasionally there's a 60-40 split.
Huh, that's fascinating. I would not have suspected that. Okay, but that's why you don't trust your own presumptions. So this is an example. I think I might know. I can't tell you how many times, and Sue was dealing with that yesterday all day with chocolate, one of our really big chocolate companies that you would all recognize that we work with. So, this is like, these are assumptions that we got to get over and realize that. I do it all the time. So these are called biases. So we got to get over our biases. And by the way, if you're interested in cognitive biases in business, do read a book called The Halo Effect. I'll leave it here for you. It's really, really good because it's very specific to how to not be biased with your market and marketing data. Okay, so I'll go ahead and drop that in there for you.
Hey, Matt got on the call in the middle of our last.
You might have gone back. Matt, are you still here? Are you here? Or?
He's here. He's muted.
Oh, he probably has some static. They're having some trouble at the line of sight internet, I think.
How's it, guys? Sorry.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Matt.
I'm good. We just said there's a storm blowing again. So
gotcha.
It's impacted things, but sorry for being late. I was just muted not to disrupt the class.
No, not at all. We're glad that you're here. And everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Matt DeCruz.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for being late. Technology is great.
No, we're good. We got some great conversation going on. We've made it all the way to the defining the market cycle, market life cycle. And these webinars go a little bit different each time, so it's good to mix it up a bit. And Matt is in.
Awesome.
I'm trying to see if I can see the storm there in South Africa.
It's just wind.
Wind, okay, yeah.
It's so hot and humid.
Yes, okay. All right, cool. So let me just follow up. Steve just said, and most of my business in the south of England to 200 miles plus away. Okay, so you got to travel a little bit. Interesting. Okay, so give me a 1 if you feel like you generally have an understanding of defining your market life cycle and a couple of the ways that you can do that. Now, we've talked about internalizing it. Be sure to watch these videos. Okay, that's part of your homework assignment for this week. And at this point, Matt created this diagram. He gets right into how to define your market. Okay, again, this is really a granular version of everything we've talked about today. So, again, we've given you how much time it should take you to do this. I think it was an hour and a half or 2 hours. So go ahead and go through this process. Yeah, Pat is asking what I just addressed. How do I define your market life cycle if you've never had a client? And well, you're in SEO business, Pat. I can just give it to you. Kidding, sort of. It depends on who you're going to target. Pat, you're opening a brand new SEO firm. And so you've got certain questions that you're going to ask yourself. And you're going to, the challenge is, okay, well, you've already determined who your target market is, which is local businesses in Australia. That can be, what's interesting in your trade, Pat, is you're still in the middle of finding out what the heck you're selling, in my opinion, even though you might not think you are. You've got to determine whether you're going to sell rankings, whether you're going to sell traffic, or whether you're going to sell conversions. You've got to decide whether you're going to sell rankings, whether you're going to sell traffic, or whether you're going to sell conversions. So you're getting into some specific specialty areas, franchising and or small business creation. I know that you're fresh back from Afghanistan, I think, aren't you? Or you've been doing some intense stuff in your career here, and now you're back looking to start a business. So you're still in the product definition area, and this is an opportunity, Pat, for you to think about what it is that you're actually selling. And if you're going to sell rankings, you really need to be able to deliver effectively and price yourself correctly. Okay, we don't currently have an agency course or an agency training course. We've talked about one for years. Part of the reason that we actually do have in development the ability to use our reports and our information to be able to help local and clients. And if you're brand new to SEO, Pat, you've got certain things to consider, which is fulfillment. Okay, yeah, and so you're an OMG. So follow some of the methods, in that particular training, you have a lot available to you in terms of client getting and all those types of things. That's going to be key for you, but then you're going to really make sure that you need to stably rank those. So we'll address those in some other locations, but right now just stay really with your client. The client life cycle for SEO, the defined market life cycle is a little bit different than for us that we share with people than you'll probably find typically. So it's going to be generally speaking in SEO, the gatekeeper for the small business is just the person who owns the shop, generally speaking. Okay, but that's interesting. I've never actually set out a life cycle for SEO, Sue. It would be kind of interesting to do that. I know what it is, but I've never written it down for anyone. Okay, so that's a great question.
Exactly.
Another thing that you can do, there is kind of a tongue-in-cheek. Matt, what's the site? Was it Quandra or
Quantcast?
Quantcast, yeah.
Quantcast.
If you guys are brand new, you can play around, and this might help you a little bit, Pat. Again, take everything that Sue said and use it, and then use this as primary. But then remember, Quantcast is a way to get some data for a particular competitor. So if you've got a site that's been around for a while, you can kind of get the demographics on that site. You might be able to get some general understanding of what is happening. Let me give you an example here. I can show you this in action. And again, you do have to take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the information is often there is not information there. There's also Alexa they can use, Russell, which will help them as well.
Absolutely. Okay, ideas. And Alexa. So let me just show you, like from Arena, for example, if you weren't sure, again, you're going to want to have your own internal data. But you could take, for instance, you could put Pivotal Tracker in there. Unless they've gotten so bad that they suck this bad now. I can't remember if it's HTO. Huh, that's weird. And what's the other one, Matt, that you said?
Just Alexa.com.
Yeah, Alexa's pretty good. All of you know Alexa, I hope.
Yeah, if they install the actual toolbar, it exposes more information as well.
And you don't have to do all this. So, you can, some of these sites try to give you some demographics, although I only believe them with a serious margin of error. But it does try to give you this data, But down here you can see on Alexa, male to female ratio. I mean, that's a little bit hard to believe, but especially with a software like that, but there you go. And then they try to give you some of these things. So if you wanted to, you could what I do is I cross-correlate. For example, Pivotal Tracker is a agile development software service. I would take 5 or 6 or 7 other services and look at them. And if I start to get data that's in common, then I would take that commonality, as a possible indicator. Okay, but again, this data is, take it with a real grain of salt, but this might be a way that you could collectively start to get an idea of who your demographic might be. Although I got to tell you, I just have a really hard time believing that. Medium, oh, there is a confidence level. So this is medium confidence. Okay. Yeah. So that's one thing that you guys could use. All right. So part of your homework assignment is definitely to watch these videos. Matt, do you want to take over, or should I keep going?
Yeah, carry on, Russ. You can carry on. You've got the flow going already.
Okay.
I'm still kind of catching up.
That's all right. We're defining the market life cycle is the next part of your homework assignment. And so this gets into a little bit. Matt shows you exactly how to do this. He's talking about age, skill, influence, advancement. Okay. You have something to add here, Matt? Oh, here it is. Quantcast. Yeah. It's all there. How'd you just went over that? Okay, good.
Yeah. What I did on this page here for you guys was I just showed you how to use Quantcast. Now I gave a few examples. But when you're working out the market lifecycle, what you need to think about is who you're selling to and roughly how do they go about buying what they buy. So for example, if we look at golfers, you get an intermediate golfer, you get a beginner golfer, you get an advanced golfer. And when you break those into their segments, you've got the 3 different types that you can actually deal with. Then you can start thinking about what you're selling and which part of those groups would buy your product. So if your product's for the beginner golfer, the advanced golfer will not potentially won't be interested in that actual thing that the beginner is interested in. So this is what we talk about when we talk about defining the market life cycle. So in the SaaS example here, we were looking at, okay, who comes to the salon, what age are they, and where are they in their actual life. So you can see with the high school prom, 16 to 18-year-olds, that's a big event for the ladies. Every year, roughly about August, September, we get a massive influx of girls through the salon, all getting ready for the prom. Then the 18 to 24-year-olds, these are the typically new at jobs, college kids, all that kind of stuff. They're sort of in between, but the main clientele is basically 25 to 34 and then 35 to 44. These are the ladies that spend the most money in the salon and they come the most times out of the rest. Their continuity is much higher than anybody else's in this whole cycle. So what we can do over here then is we can focus on, okay, we're going to focus on the 25 to the 44-year-olds. That's who our market is. But when you look at this chart, to define the market lifecycle chart like this, you can take it a step further and you can actually figure out what products does the 16 to 18-year-olds want. So is it hair accessories? Do they want hair extensions put in their hair? And we can go through all the market life cycles. We can actually bind specific products to them. And this helps make your site evergreen. So when you start building your site structure out, you are already aware of what potential products you can sell or what potential services that market personality would potentially buy.
Let me ask you something.
And that's roughly all I would like to say.
Matt, let me ask you something. In your opinion, after building lots of sites for people and doing this on several occasions, this being a great example, is it a good idea when you're first starting out to be all things to all people?
No.
Okay, so.
No. You can't. It makes the build too complex, and you can't focus that way.
Okay.
For example, the SASE, we looked at the whole business, and we've tried to figure out where would we make the most money the fastest, and that's why we focused on the wedding channel, the wedding silo first, because for the business, every bride that comes in brings in 3 or 4 bridesmaids plus the mums with them.
Wow.
So for each lead that we get in, we potentially get 5 or 6 clients
Gotcha.
in one shot. Whereas if we focused on the prom kids, it has to be one person at a time. So the LTV of that client is much higher. That lead is worth a lot more money. But also the LTV, once they come in, we can get into the process. And after 2 or 3, 4, 5 times, then we've got the ladies for probably 2 or 3, 4 years if they're still in the area.
And that's huge.
Maybe even longer.
And that's something called
So this is why we do this. LTV, yes.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, I don't want to slide any terms past you that you don't understand. LTV means lifetime value of the customer. Give me a 1 if you've heard the word LTV before, and a 2 if you have not. Because I think it's a key indicator, a keystone word that I know you'll hear Matt say again and again. I know you will, Sue, as well. If you actually know what your LTV is, the lifetime value of your customer, in other words, when you're first starting out, you won't know that, but over time you will. In other words, for example, Matt and Sue and I understand that we know the average amount of time that a person will stay a Network Empire member. We also know that even when they quit, they come back within a year and a half after exploring other things, depending upon where they are in a demographic. If they're in here, they might be with us for 6 months, and then they come back a year, and they've matured, and they become loyal customers. Or we have people in this demographic, mostly men, but it's getting more and more to be women, and they'll stay a much longer amount of time because they have more patience, and they go through the process, and they learn. So the point here is that if you know how long that your average customer stays in, or how many times they're going to get a haircut, or that they'll become regular repeat business, then you really have a great handle on what you're purchasing and who you're targeting. Because if you're targeting people that aren't going to stay in, and they're churn and burn, and they're the wrong demographic, you might make some sales, but you don't get that lifetime value. Okay, so the lifetime value of the customer, what's crazy, you guys, is that if you know the lifetime value of the customer, you actually know how much you can pay for a lead. In other words, if a lead costs you, you guys might have wondered like how people can pay $4 a click or $1.50 a click. When you get your company funnels working so well that you know that you can easily pay $1.75 for a lead, even if that lead doesn't come through, well, part of the reason they're able to do that is that they know that the lifetime value of the lead that converts is 2 years for a great product, and they know that that is $59 a month. You do $59 for times 24, and what do you stand to earn, right? If the product is $59 and the average lifetime value of a customer is, let's do the math, right? How much money is that? So can you afford to risk $1 to acquire that lead? Yeah, and so what happens is you start converting hand over fist, and not only that, you raise your bid when you're doing pay-per-click and things like this. Not that you guys should. I'm just pointing out so you guys know how these big companies afford to do this. They can pay up to $5 a lead past a certain amount, and what they do is they just outrank all their competitors on pay-per-click because they know exactly what the lifetime value of a customer actually is. Okay, you get what I'm saying?
That's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you guys to be aware that there's never a time, waking, sleeping, or dreaming, that I'm ever forgetting about LTV. Okay? I'm in the middle of the night. I'm dreaming about the lifetime value of my customers. You guys understand that? Give me a 1. It's huge. I need you to understand this. That's what makes a great marketer great and a good marketer average, is the difference between understanding your LTV. Okay? Why do you guys think we give some of our plugins away? Right? Because we acquire the lead for almost zero cost, except the cost of the development. Not zero cost. She would slap me if you hear me say that. Hopefully she's not listening. But you get, oh no, she wasn't. Oh crap, no. But you guys understand what I'm saying, right? That it's about making sure that we can connect with our audience, because it costs money to acquire customers, you guys. There's like I'm not trying to scare you with the pay-per-click model. It was just an example. But remember, even ranking and building your silo site is not free lead acquisition, right? If it costs you $1,000 or a couple grand to build a site and have the content and take your course and put all that on there, and then you're ranking, remember, some money to rank, even though the free search engines are a much less expensive way to acquire your leads, it still costs you something. There's no such thing as free rankings, really. Ultimately, you still have to do the work. It's much, much, much cheaper than pay-per-click. So,
yeah, guys, when you build, you incur IT debt, and your lead funnel needs to pay the debt off before your site becomes profitable. So this is why knowing these numbers is so important.
Yeah, Marina is saying, Russell, using the Agile product example, especially Agile company transformation, most clients are companies, and some are big. How to define an image of this kind of client? Hang on a second. I'm not quite sure I understand your. How should I define an image of this kind of client, especially Agile transformation? Which clients are companies? Oh, yes. Okay. What Marina is saying is she's she's into some big stuff. Pivotal Tracker is an example of there's a lot of Agile development softwares out there. And, you know, it's interesting, Marina, because let me just bring up. Yeah, you still have to be able to determine. Pivotal Labs is a great company, by the way. I really like Darren, and I attend his webinars fairly regularly, just because I actually use Agile development in life, not just in software development. I'm I consider it an amazing system, and I think difficult to implement for people who've not used it. But the point is that it's a market, so I'm your demographic, right, Marina? We use, Sue and I use different softwares for designing software. But I guess my question would be, there's got to be a way for you to come up with your profile. You need to find out by doing a little bit of reading and by going through Pain Finder, Marina. I already found out by just looking at 2 questions. This is before you were here, Matt. We went into Pain Finder. That people is pivotal. Like, is agile development a joke? That's a perfect example. If you look at the people asking that question, they were large, mid-sized companies, from what I could tell, to large companies or software houses that had already done things their own way. And there's no way that they're going to be able to transform their internal culture without some serious guidance. That's why Pivotal Tracker and Agile Labs, offer so many webinars so that they can deprogram themselves in previous ways of thinking. Scrum is an example of that. But I already can tell you just by looking at the Pain Finder results, if you go through all the people asking the questions and then you look each one of them, this is a trick, okay? Look each one of them up in LinkedIn. If people answering and debating about the question of agile development, Marina, are all from companies. Go to LinkedIn, take their name, copy and paste it. Let me see if I can find it. You should be able, here's Paul Stevens, programmer, tech enthusiast, okay? You can actually find sometimes that you can go right to LinkedIn and you can find out what size company they work for. And consistently you keep seeing that they are, sometimes you can click right on it inside their, I don't know if I could find, there's probably a lot of Paul Stevens, but it might take me a minute, but a lot of times if they have a LinkedIn page, you'll be able to find them. And you look at their current job titles. If they work for a big, giant company, then generally speaking, you're going to see that people who are seriously you just go through several dozen questions, like go through and look at the people having the conversation. This is why Sue was saying look at the conversation, okay? If you can't find one, Kane Marr, he's a Scrum coach and trainer. He's got things to say about it. Okay, obviously he's probably selling a little bit of something indirectly, but start looking through some of these things. And if you find them on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is one way you can determine the size of the company that they're working for. If they're software houses, if they're firms, you might have your demographic at the end of all that, like the way that Matt has it laid out. It might be, geek programmer, age 35 and 45, working for a software firm, of anywhere between 3 and 7 people. Now you're going to have to, or anywhere between 3 and 25 people, right? So you don't know, but you're going to have to do some research. You might even have to make a phone call. Marina's saying, thank you, this has been very helpful. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no magic button for this type of research, you guys. You can pay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the SRDS. I want you guys to know you have a choice. You can definitely go to the SRDS and still get dubious results. SRDS is created by, I think, American Express. It's a huge research database of this type of data. And you can use that, but it's something like $5,000 to even gain access to it. And I don't really recommend that you guys at this level. I just want you to know that you can do the foot research and sometimes do a better job just by picking up the phone. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody give me a 1 if you understand that. You don't have to pay $5,000 to SRDS, research. You just pick up the phone and find out. Interestingly enough, you have small companies as well using agile development, but they use it for different purposes. So what's interesting is you can look and see that there's a huge movement in SRDS. SRDS. There's a huge movement in agile development. There's even a movement to take agile development principles into managing your children. Now, it doesn't seem like that you would need a software. If you go to TED and type in agile development and then kids, there's a parent that uses agile development to run his household. It's kind of funny, Marina. You might be interested in that. So the point is that look for those tangent topics. That's where Matt started looking at tangent topics. I don't think there's a real market in that, Marina. But point is, look and see who's going to buy that. What the heck are you selling should determine who you're selling to, and then you'll find that nice groove. And the other thing for you is going to be the gatekeeper. People who buy software and make software decisions are not necessarily CEOs of large corporations, so you've got a lot of questions you've got to answer before you build the site page for that. Okay? So that's good.
Yeah. one other thing I'd like to add you with defining the market lifecycle.
Sure.
One of the main reasons why we do this as well is to basically segment what we're working with and look at which segment is actually the most important to focus on. And by defining the whole story and laying out the whole story visually, you can actually see what it is that you need to build. You know who you're speaking to. You can sort of understand a lot of other stuff, because when you start putting faces to the actual market personality and you visually can see them, it changes the whole way the site actually gets built.
It does, and really do that. Matt's done a great job here. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Meisel's method of printing some of these out. Like, sometimes as geeks, we get really technical. It's like Sue was saying, like, we put all the shirts in one silo, forgetting that 90% of the people sitting on the site right now are women, and they just want to shop for cool-looking clothes, and they want prettiness. Okay, they're not geeks. It's got to be in the right place. Like, don't compromise visitor-enhanced optimization for radical technical robot configurations on your site. You want to make sure that we have a nice balance. But in the same way, take a picture. Jonathan Meisel describes real successful campaigns where everybody on the team who were doing large campaigns, they actually printed out an example person. Like, so from Marina could, if she meets somebody who's really struggling with agile development and which software to buy, and she's able to find one of those and get some decisions and problems and pains maybe on Pain Finder and Quora, find out what is agile development a joke? How do I choose a software? Take a photograph of that person, put them on the wall, put all that data out there, literally print it out, stick it on your wall until you're comfortable with your market. So some of you have had years worth of business, like Peter, some of you, the person selling Steve Patterson selling the granite, tops. He knows, he has a much better idea who his customer is, so he may not need to do this. But if you're just starting out, especially before you blow a lot of money in content and ad campaigns and all these things, get a demographic out, spit it out, keep it on your desktop. Jonathan Meisel, who makes millions of dollars, still to this day prints out the demographic of his target person and sticks it on the wall. That should tell you something. This is what Matt's trying to show you as well. We don't quite go.
Yeah, you start having conversations.
Yeah,
you have conversations with those people.
Yeah, I don't have to print them out anymore and put them on the wall because I'm talking to them on Skype every day. But you guys get the understanding of what I'm saying. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead, and we've been on for about an hour and a half. Let's go ahead and go to the homework checklist, because you guys have a general idea, and then I'm going to have Matt talk to you a little bit about the process of which week. A lot of you have asked me which week do we give Matt the keywords and all that. Matt, do you want to answer some of those questions that I got before you arrived?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Do you want to fire them off to me, Russ? Yeah. In the order that you want them to be answered.
One of the questions was, when do we give Matt our keywords? What week do we give Matt our keywords for drill and research? And when do we have to have them by?
And that's week 3. Okay, guys. Basically, what's going to happen is in week 1, we start getting familiar with the market, we define it, and we start thinking about what is it that we're selling, who we're selling to, and what segment are we actually going to work with. In week 2, we start looking at the pains in the market, and we start thinking, okay, now we know we're dealing with what are the real pains they have. So we start getting really clear on what it is that they want. And in week 3, we take that information we gather after we've done the ISDNA process, and we'll take those keywords we extracted and we're going to put them into Kraken, and that's in week 3 that we'll do that process. And that's when I'll drill out the first batch of keywords for you guys so that you've got a working example within Kraken. So typically what happens at that stage then is you give the keywords, it's your primary keyword and maybe 2 or 3 supporting keywords. I'll speak to you more about that closer to the time. I will draw them out, and then once I've done that, essentially you will then let Kevin know, or the help desk know, when you're ready to use Kraken, because what we found is sometimes people don't have the time right now because you're all busy, you're all working, you all got jobs or your businesses to run. Then you'll come back when you're ready to get your 7-day access to Kraken, and everything will be pre-drilled and sitting there waiting for you. So at that point, then you can actually go and drill for like a week and do what you need to do.
Excellent.
In Kraken.
Okay, that's perfect. And as you can see, then we'll get into these other weeks. Go ahead and back to our homework assignment. Matt's given you very clear parameters on what you should do this week. Because next week, like as I said before Matt arrived, is going to be a doozy. Because you're going to fill out the whole IS-DNA spreadsheet, frequently asked questions, the pain behind the pain, question behind the question. You guys are going to know more about your market than the market does. So,
yeah,
and that's
it's actually amazing when you go through this process.
Yeah.
Guys, don't let it blow your head. Don't get freaked out. Don't overthink this process. Week 1 and week 2 is fact-finding. It's like you go in with a blank mind and you just absorb everything that you find. You find your pictures, you stick them up, you define your market life cycles. You think about what you're selling, you look at the price, you look at your competitors, you look at how they offer those things. This is the first 2 weeks. When you get all this information together, then we're going to show you how to break them up and organize it. So you can see here, we're going to build our empire one block at a time. And over here you can see on the homework we've got everything mapped out how you must do it. So you define your products, you then define your market, and you start working your way down through that list.
And I just
and that's going to give you a lot of key bullet points for you guys to work with.
I just sent them the link to this page so they know right where it is. So follow this through. Now I would like to say that Matt has pointed out that we know that a lot of you are full on, like you're running your businesses. And that's one of the reasons that we made this a perpetual mastermind, because, you know, like for instance, a certified advisor, Vincent Hahn, is on this call today. He's been to full-on certification, and he's running like umpteen. He's got a full-on business in Singapore. You know, so once a member, always a member. This is a huge advantage that we've added for your convenience. We don't want you to feel stressed out. We don't want. At the same time, we're willing to hold you as accountable as you'd like us to hold you accountable to. And really, you should be able to, if you were focused and didn't have other things that you were doing, there would be no problem at all finishing this course in 8 weeks and getting the site out the door. So do your best to stay along with the homework assignments. If you start to fall behind, don't be ashamed. Don't not show up for the next webinar. Show up and then start to absorb at what's happening. On average, it takes people a couple of times going through this process to really nail it to the point where it would be sellable to them for clients. But for others of you, you nail it right on the head the first time and you go out and start making money with clients on this process. One thing I want to just clear the air right now so that I don't hear about this anymore. Do not give away this type of reporting as if it's automatically included in SEO. Pain Finder, Pain Solution. None of the processes that we're taking you through should be all inclusive of SEO. The processes that we are showing you right now is not SEO, you guys. We're getting to SEO in week 3, 4, and 5. This stuff is not SEO, and if you decide to take it in-house and offer it, we have some clients who are selling Pain Finder and IS-DNA reports for anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 before they even sign a contract for SEO. You guys beginning to get my picture here, Pat? Okay, good. Pat got that one. Don't do this traditional. SEO is a very narrow-minded trade, Pat. It's very narrow-minded. And not all of it, but a lot of the time it is all about rankings. And then you're competing with some of the most intense black hat gamers in the world. So really provide that human contact for your clients. Remember that keyword research, every step of the way is a report. And you'd hear about, Pat, you hear about people offering the silver bullet, the free 15 minutes, as Eric Dombach talks about it in his business coaching training. There's nothing wrong with the silver bullets when you're kicking off, but it's better if you can automate that process and provide some reporting up front, but still charge for that general reporting. It's a tricky line when you're first starting out, but just keep in mind that when you're doing market research, you're doing advanced stuff, and they don't have to elect for it, but then what's going to happen for you is you're going to have to decide, okay, you don't want the reporting, and you just want to rank for these keywords. Okay, but these are not, the problem comes when your client wants to rank for keywords that's not helpful. Yeah. Okay, good. And Pat's saying part of my problem is that the picture I say is too big. Picture, I don't quite understand that, but that's all right, Pat. You'll get your head around it. And at the end of the day, it's just like keep it simple. Don't charge. Don't give yourself away for free. But at the same time, don't charge so much that you can't outprice, obviously, the local market. So just make sure that you charge each step of the way so that you gain the trust and you actually gain the respect of the market. And we'll talk more about that as we go through this process. Are there any questions before? Let me have a 1 for those of you who are excited and ramped up and you really feel like you have your head around what Matt and I are going to be teaching you is 8 weeks. And give me a 2 if you're still dubious and you're feeling a little bit like you're swimming. And it's completely fine either way, by the way. We just want to, pick you out of the crowd so we might know what's going on. Oh yeah, Welton, this is your second time around, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're auditing again? That's good for you. Good for you. That's fine.
Okay. Russ, do you have a chance to chat to the guys about the consulting time and the case study and any of that?
No. Do you want to take the screen and do you want to show them that, or do you?
Yeah. Let me just show the guys that quickly.
Okay.
I'm just going to open it up. Give me 2 seconds.
Hey, while he's opening that up, I just want to say to Pat, like the idea for today is, we scope back and we show you the whole big picture, and then we're going to break it down as we go through the next 8 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It's not. The picture's not too big, Pat. It's the picture. It is what it is.
we'll break it down.
Yeah, and you can take them into little tiny pictures and decide to sell which picture you want. It's a lot like a silo. You have a product. You have a silo landing page. You don't have. Nobody is telling anybody that they have to sell something if they don't want to sell. So you're going to decide what your products are to your clients, Pat, and you're going to decide that it's something that you can deliver. And you should find a nice balance between what you can sell and what you can deliver. Don't sell stuff that you can't deliver, and don't deliver stuff that's underpriced. Once you do that, you start to find this nice balance, and you can scale. But you can't scale when you sell stuff that you can't deliver. Believe me, Pat, I've done it in SEO. Not anymore because we can deliver anything, but in the early years, I was charging way too little and trying to sell. I was getting way too little money to deliver stuff that would cost me way too much to deliver. Does that make sense? Mahai is saying that we have so much information, it's overwhelming. Good, because that's the process of transformation. The process of transformation is, okay, let's scramble the brain with all the data connection points. And then what will happen is the unwanted information will be sorted out, and only the information that cannot be ignored will be clear in your mind, Mahai. Does that make sense? In other words, it's all clearly laid out in this course. Here's the good news, Mahai. Whenever you feel overwhelmed with information and data, go to the overview and realize, oh, there may be a lot of information, but it's all contained within 8 weeks. See how that makes it easy?
Yeah.
In other words, it's all here. If you can commit to these 8 weeks and turning up every little rock. I've got a quote I wanted to share with you. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find that. Hopefully there's nothing too... let's see. You guys get all my passwords. Oh, here you go. This is what I wanted to share with you guys today. Ready? You're going to love this in response to Mahai. When you turn over rocks and look at all the squiggly things underneath, you can either put the rock down or you can say, hey, my job is to turn over rocks and look at all the squiggly things, even if what you can see may scare the hell out of you. Fred Purdue, Pitney Bowes. Fred helped Pitney go to $1 billion. Okay, $1 billion. Now, that might seem overwhelming to you guys because you just want to make a couple grand a month, right? Well, here's the thing. There are some squiggly things in SEO. Guess what? Matt and Sue and myself have untangled them for you. And we've placed them carefully in a system, which, by the way, is half of the work. The other half of the work is what Pat's struggling with. How do I sell that? Well, you know what? We can even teach you how to sell that if you really want to listen. Okay? So it's all there. Just remember that it's contained within that system. There are some squiggly things. Don't be afraid. We've picked the rock up for you. We've, found the squiggly things and the scary things, and we've dealt with thousands of students like you for the last 10 years. And we found the scary stuff. And guess what? We've made it as simple as possible, but not simpler, as Albert Einstein liked to say. The truth is as simple as possible, but not simpler. So we've gotten as simple as it can, at least in most parts. We're always refining it. And if you have questions, that's what the Skype forum is for. If you have insights, share those with the community inside the Skype group. And obviously, when you're approaching Matt with the coaching or myself, have your questions carefully prepared. Matt's time is valuable. He's highly successful. He's been doing this stuff for many, many years. huge complex systems that he's taught me about running larger companies and production lines. You know, have your questions clear by following these forms first, and then when you meet with him, make sure that the questions like what the heck are you selling are filled out, because it'll be much easier for him to draw that information from you than he needs to do your drilling. All right. Sounds really good. Matt, do you have anything to add to this today?
Yeah, I just wanted to just briefly just chat about what you spoke about with the consulting times.
Sure.
Guys, what I've found here is the best way to chat to us is like in 2-week increments, because you're basically in 4 hours of time with me through this process. And with the course being 8 weeks, if we can connect every 2 weeks, it helps us just deal with that part of the process effectively. So essentially with the coaching calls, if we can jump on basically, yeah, in the beginning, like once Russell spoke to us next week about solutions to the pain, that's going to be a good time for us to actually speak about. Should I share the screen quick, Russell?
Sure, please. Go, yeah, go for it. I think you can snatch it away, can't you?
Yeah. Okay. Attendees, I want to give myself the screen. My presenter, yeah. Guys, can you give me a one if you can see my screen? Just to make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so essentially at week 2, solutions to the pain, once we've gone through that process and you understand it, that's a good time to start having the chats with us, because then we'll speak about your product, what you want to sell, and what you think the pains are. Then you and I will have a chat, we'll go through the process, we'll brainstorm together, and we'll think, okay, what's the keywords that we want to talk about? That's really a good call, that one, because a lot of things get uncovered in that process. Then the next one will be week 4. This is where we've gone through Kraken, done up a market analysis, find the keywords, and we're going to start talking about silos. And I'll start speaking to you guys about how to think about building silos and how to lay out the story. Then at week 6, this is where we start looking at one feed, and this is where we're dealing with the blog and the syndication process. And then week 8 is testing and measuring. This is where we jump into analytics. Okay, so I said yesterday, just to the guys, have a look at the case study. For you guys, can you give me one if you actually gone through and read the case studies, or 2 if you've not actually seen it yet? Okay, the reason why I did that case study in the way that I did it was just to demonstrate to you guys that we can achieve great things with basically no backlinks, purely because of how we're building our sites and how we overlaying the persuasion copy on, and how we're speaking to the audience that we're dealing with. And in that case study you saw we were getting leads in basically from when the site was launched. Leads started coming through. We outranked all our competitors. We knocked over positions number 1, 2, and 3. We had multiple listings on certain pages, and we had hardly done anything in that local market. Okay, so if you've not seen the case study, it's just there as a motivation to show you that just by applying a few of the things that you learn in the next 8 weeks, you can achieve great things with your site if you apply what Russell teaches you with the persuasion and stuff. And another thing I want to say just before closing here, guys, is remember this is a repetitive process. It's a process where we're constantly refining our sites. You can't break your site. You only start breaking your site when you do silly things, but you're not really breaking it. You're actually just putting a spanner in the spokes, and you're stopping the engine running. So with our stackable system, when we start stacking the layers step by step, block by block, and we build out our network, this whole process has been designed to sort of look after you as you're going through the whole thing. You don't have to run off and do random things and find backlinks and all that kind of stuff. In the case study you saw there was just 2 backlinks, and you can see all the different things that happened just with 2 simple backlinks from directories. So I want to just end tonight with that is, if you've not seen the case study, go through it, read it. It's very insightful, and it's quite interesting to see how powerful silo architecture really, really is. It's a super, super powerful technique when you start getting your themes and all those things right. But the trick here is don't overthink it. Don't get too technical. Don't get too granular at this stage. Rather tell a better story. This is what it's all about. It's how to tell a better, organized story that speaks to your market personality. This is what you want to build, and this is what we're going to show you over the next 8 weeks. That's just all I wanted to say there.
Fantastic, Matt. That's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. And I'm not sure, Andy, you said, when do we pick a name for our new URL or website? Okay. Well, if you're starting absolutely from ground zero, I'll let Matt answer that question, actually.
Week 3 would be a good time. The reason why I say week 3 is a good time is because we get to look at the actual keywords. We get to see what words contain the most traffic. We've got a better understanding of the market, who we're selling to, and after Russell speaks about the persuasion layer and the pain layer, he'll help us pick domains. That type of training helps us pick better domains because we're dealing with pains and vitamins.
It does, yeah.
So week 3 is definitely it's a good time. You'll have enough insights to think much clearer about what it is that you want to have.
Exactly. And you know, there's something that I haven't mentioned today that we normally mention. I want to get this out of the way. If you already have a domain and it's got a website on it and you're planning on using it for this course, I would recommend don't. You asked me for a recommendation. I'm just recommending that you don't. Start with something fresh. Follow the process through in the ground up so that you can have the experience of building something with Matt and myself and Sue for the ground up for several different reasons. There's a technical reason, but there's also a market reason, marketing and persuasion. And the stackable system makes sense, and at some point you need to have the experience of building it properly from the ground up, including website persuasion architecture, website silo architecture, and business architecture. So these are the reasons why you might want to go through our program starting with a blank site. Now, that being said, of course, there are ways to add silos to existing sites that Matt and Sue created called bolt-on silo architecture. But for the purpose of this course, it would be better if you could start with a pristine, clean slate and just plan on treating this as an educational course and build it up. Give me a 1 if that makes sense to you guys. And 2, if that's really going to be difficult for you. It's not really optional. We kind of need you to do that. But I wanted to just see if any of you have come in this course thinking you can use one of your existing sites already. I just wanted to. Okay, it looks like you're all fine on that. Excellent. So just yeah, okay, we're good on that then. We have had people come in before where it was like they thought they were going to demolish their site or, put on a new wing, these types of things. Okay, good. All right, with that, I guess we should wrap it up, Matt.
Yeah, that's awesome. So guys, what I'll do tomorrow is I'm going to basically put through the booking form for booking your chat times with me. Okay. You guys can jump in whenever you want. You don't have to wait till week 2. It's just a suggestion, just so you get a better quality out of me when you've actually gone through a few of the modules. And then, as usual, if you've got any questions, just hit me up on Skype. If you don't have my Skype address, just ping me through the tech course area, and I will track you down.
Yeah, and if you haven't bought your domains yet, guys, somebody just mentioned that they already had. Don't wait until post week 3. The domain you bought might be fine, but it might not, or it might be suboptimal, it might be optimal. It's okay. I know everyone's excited, but Sue and I and Matt have some rules. We don't buy domains before midnight. I mean, after midnight, if we've had more than one beer. And we also do not buy domains until we've done the research that is the equivalent of week 1, 2, and 3. Right, Sue?
Well, yeah, I'm also going to have Jimmy Kelley come on week 3 and talk to you guys about over-optimization.
Yes.
And
all right.
what you want to think about as you buy your domain.
Oh, fantastic. I was hoping we were going to add that. Okay, that's actually an addition for the most part. So we have a new and awesome surprise for this week. Sue's saying that Jimmy is going to make a guest appearance. Over-optimization is a big deal, or a bigger deal than it was now. Not a big deal, but a bigger deal than it was. And so that has to do with the domain that you select, that you would select, Mahai. And that's kind of important. For example, if you start repeating the target keyword too many times in domain within your silo structure, it can get a little bit bad. So that's one of the main reasons we suggest waiting, so you're clear on that. And then that has an example. For example, an impact on if you purchase a domain like Houston Dentists, and you're wanting to target Houston dentists everywhere. There's some important things for local that'll be very, very useful for all of you on that, especially Pat as well, and any of you doing local marketing. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's been so good to meet each and every one of you. It's going to be an amazing 8 weeks. I'm so glad to be able to share and expose this information to you. I'm actually incredibly proud of my team and this process and system, of which I'm only a small part. It requires a really amazing team with a lot of life experience across a lot of disciplines. And this is why we call it a cybernetic training system, because it involves the human, persuasion and marketing and understanding the human world that's buying your products, It requires understanding the technical infrastructure of just putting up a site and server-side, basic website stuff. And it requires the technical expertise of SEO, architecture, and traffic. So it really is kind of a Renaissance integration of 3 different disciplines. And I think that's why you don't find any training systems like ours out there, including even at the universities. They just very focus on marketing or they focus on IT. Where we're heading now, folks, as you can probably tell, is we got to have a little bit of skill, the right kind of skill in all those areas. You don't have to know everything about all those areas, but the right kind of skill. All right, you guys, we will see you next week.
So
which button to press? That's right. So we will see you next week, same bat time, same bat hour, Thursday, 11 o'clock our time. We'll see you very soon, and we look forward to seeing you in the meantime on the Skype group, and we'll see you on the inside. Thanks, folks.
Thank you very much, guys.